And this is an action shot. Actually, I guess there's 3 lines and then the perimeter. So, and you see about 4-inch wide strips, and these things go down extremely fast. This is roughly 30 kilowatts, and these four guys did it in a day. So it's extremely fast. And I don't know what the price point on the modules is, and in fact, Ralph just whispered over here, I don't even think you can get it anymore. So, yeah, and so here's a completed shot of the Lumetta. And the Lumetta the wire tray you see in the middle is Coblo fill. It's a stainless wire tray with a lid, and you just lay the wires in there from the solar panels and run them to wherever they need to go. It's a fairly expensive method of doing it, but it's very quick. If this was Germany, we would just be able to lay you've probably seen the black, in landscaping corrugated tubing, you would be able to lay that on the roof and just go. But here in Texas, for sure, in the United States, the way the electric codes, you can't do it. So you have to have this type of tray. But again, it's fast. It's my understanding they're coming out with the PVC version, so the cost should really come down.
Ralph, you said this Lumetta has gone out of business. Were they the ones up in Maryland or Massachusetts?
No, they're actually out of California. They're a spin-off of a roofing company or a roofing contractor. They got into the solar business and they started making these panels. They're an excellent panel. We actually put them on top of a zoo in Dallas. We glued them down with adhesive because it didn't stick as well with the roofing membrane. But they tried to shift from one cell type to another cell type, and they couldn't make the panels cheap enough and everything. Those are about $3.92 a watt wholesale, so they're very expensive. A normal solar panel is like $1.05 now. So
almost 4 times as expensive.
Yeah, so there wasn't any way that they could figure out how to compete. Kind of like what happened to Solyndra. Right. They couldn't compete.
Yeah, and
great concept, but
it is a great concept, but labor essentially is inexpensive.
What's the deal as far as the current situation, as far as China cutting prices? What's that doing to the industry now?
Well, in my business, it's helping me. We're extremely busy because of the price cut. Now, it doesn't help U.S. manufacturers very much, but it definitely has allowed our business to grow substantially.
Does the Meta use glass on the back and front?
No, there is no glass on it. There is some sort of laminate over it.
The whole thing is laminate?
The whole thing essentially is laminate, yeah.
Can you walk on the panel?
You can. It's not recommended because if you had a rock or something in your in your boot or whatever. But yeah, you can walk on them. But again, it's very fast. Let's see. There's a spec sheet with copper fill, wire management, and for flat roof applications, this stuff is pretty unbeatable.
so it's open.
Yeah, it's open, but if you look, you see a tray. It comes with a lid.
Okay.
And the wiring is UV. It's rated for 15 or 20 years to sit in direct sunlight. However true that is, I don't know. So it has a lid to help with the UV issues associated with just leaving things in the sun. There's a close-up picture. So as you can see, it has a lid on it, and then that's a roof boot that has a little adhesive. So when the wind does blow, it doesn't pick the tray up. The next technology is solar power, and this is a SIGS thin film product. It's about 10 feet long, and again, it comes in 210 to 260. And we have this was maybe their first manufacturer run, so we have sort of a mixture up on that roof. We have a bunch of 210s and 230s, I think, which is not the most efficient way to wire an array. But anyways, that's what we have. So this is an action shot, then laying those down. And these are not pre-adhesed from the manufacturer. And we have 120 modules, and it took 2 people about a week to adhese all the modules. And it was not real fun. So, you know, from a labor standpoint, there's more labor associated with these modules than in the meadow.
And you were doing this in August, right?
Yes, this was in July and August. So we would get to work about 5 o'clock in the morning, and these guys would work till about 2. And if, you know, they call it a cool roof for a reason, you could lay down on that roof and not get scalded, but about, I don't know, 24 inches off the reflection, it's seriously like an oven. But you can put your hand to the touch. You know, if you're out on a composition shingle roof and put your hand on it in the middle of the day, you know, it would hurt. You wouldn't be able to lay it down. But these roofs stay about ambient air temperature until you're about 24 inches up, and you have to add about another 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's actual temperature. So it was unpleasant. This summer was just unpleasant. And bright. So there's them laying down. And the way the manufacturer told us to lay these, which we're finding out may not be the best way, is essentially to butt them up next to each other and not leave any space. But we're having, because this was the first run out of the manufacturer, we're having a few issues, and we're going to have to take 4 of them off and send them back to Oregon. And so it leaves us in a quandary about not how to remove them, but there's the original roof underneath, but then how do you put a sack barrier down when they're butted up right next to each other? You can't get the overlay strip to seal it in very well. But anyways, so we're dealing with that. And I probably didn't make it very clear, with this project, this is a test bed project. So when Solo Power is having some issues, we understood going in, and I'm almost certain we didn't get the modules for free, but Solo Power needed somewhere. We had a deck monitoring system. They needed to get these out and get them monitored and start running active tests on them. And so, this essentially is a test bed, and there's talk that they may have to remove all 120 modules and then ship a new 120 for the issues that are happening here. But anyways, that's not for me to decide. I'll install them, but the top sheet has started to delaminate on them, so it could pose an electrical hazard. They're performing like they should, but they don't look pretty, and it could be an electrical shock hazard. So I think in a couple of weeks we're peeling 4 off and shipping them out to Oregon, so they can take a look at it. There is a carport, and again, it's about 50 kW, and this is just one of the elevations here.
So the carport was installed specifically for this project?
Yes. Right, and so you have a big parking lot with no trees in it, and you want to do solar, well, a carport is a great way to get dual use from what you already have. There is obviously some added cost because you can see the amount of steel necessary. But again, the employees love their carport. It offers shade throughout the day, and it's a great dual use. And then this has, like I said, the bifacial sanders. And so any reflection off the concrete of the cars or whatever will hit the back sheets and cause them to produce more electricity. There were a couple issues here. You can see the power lines back there. So we had to get an easement from CenterPoint because utilities don't. It's not necessarily underneath the power lines, but it's close enough that we had to get a formal easement from CenterPoint to say that they'll let us put the array there.
Might add, you have a number of electric vehicle chargers.
Yes, and there's a great photo coming up of the vehicle chargers. We had an issue with the steel erector guys. You can see that string there. So it came prefab with or pre-punched holes in it, and you can't see the L-foot that their strings on the foreground here, but as you can see, they don't quite line up. And as you go into the background, the L-feet then line up. The erectors didn't put it in square. There's 3 arrays, so they had to come in, and all the C channels there on 2 arrays, pop the welds, and then square the thing, and then weld it back. You think that these guys who build buildings all over Austin would be able to square some things. I don't know if there's greater tolerances in building. But anyways, there's not much tolerance associated with solar and this stuff. The racking, you know, going 30 feet here, you could probably have about an inch of tolerance to make it work. And in one instance, there was 18 inches of play, or out of square. So there's a, you know, there's the 3 arrays there.
So we fight over them in the morning, I'm sure.
They do, and there are 12 bays for electric vehicles, 6 dual car chargers, and they have, I know the company has 2 volts for employees of the month. They get to drive them for a month, and then I believe there's a couple other employees have bought electric vehicles.
So those modules interlocking, or is there sheet metal underneath the modules?
So the modules are locked in with the. It's not a very common rack, but it's Unirack, which is maybe the most common manufacturer out there. But they make what's called a sun frame, and this one. Let's see. I don't know if I have one up close. Let's see. But anyways, it's a shared rail system, and the modules actually sort of slide into the sun frame. There's a top strip that goes over the top between the 2 rows, so it makes for a very flush and almost seamless installation. They're really popular on new construction because you do get a very rectangular look with very minimal gapping.
Is there a roof underneath the solar panel?
There is not. There is no roof, so it is not rainproof. You know, you can't. I guess if it was raining, you would still get moderately wet because there still are some gaps in there. There was talk about making it waterproof, and the glazers came out, and the price just wasn't what they wanted to pay. That's some glazers do it. But anyways, here's the car chargers. These are GE car chargers. Again, there's 2 volts, and I know there's a couple of employees that bought a few more. So in order to use it, you have to have your Smith name tag. Has a chip in it or whatever, so you can slide your card, plug it in, and charge while you're at work. So they're not, they don't work unless you have your RFI card, I guess, to make them work.
Are they grid tied?
They are grid tied, and that, again, you know, I talk about the electrical issues associated with this project, and well, I will actually at the end. Yeah, I can talk about running the different circuits and some of the issues we have. They're monitored. It's pretty neat car charger. There's the inverter pad here, and that's Art Figueroa, who's the facility manager, and Andy Jones, who works with Auditorium, over there. So on the left there is a PV-powered 50 kilowatt inverter. Against the fence are the 2 Fronius IG 12.0s, and then between or on either side of Andy there are 2 PVP 30 kilowatt inverters, and then some of the boxes there, the breaker panels and what have you. And as you notice, they're standing on that wire frame. I'll get into that story in just a minute.